Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome and thank you for choosing freeconferencecall.com. You're helping people around the world communicate for free. Please. If you are the host, press star now. Otherwise, please wait and you will be joined into the conference. Please announce yourself.
Pat Helmers.
Hey, Pat. Bruce Jones here.
Bruce, how are you doing today?
Not bad. Long time no see.
Long time no see. Been interviewing people today.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
For what position?
No, for the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was a guy who is an expert sale when it comes specifically to sales development reps, and that's been fun. He was really, really, really good. He had some really great advice.
Cool.
So it'll be an excellent podcast. Sounds like somebody else just hopped on the line.
Hey, this is Mike Clark.
Mike, how you doing?
Good. How's you doing? Everyone staying safe?
We're doing really good. I sent you an email this afternoon. Did you get a chance to see it?
I got your reminder email, but I haven't seen anything else.
Yeah, you sent me an email. Bruce, you should let you know that Mike here has been helping me tune the reminder emails that have been going out.
Oh, okay, cool. I've been a nag. The guy's not going to talk to me again. He goes, oh, what now? Yeah, it's not. I think the best way is like it's a calendar. It ends up being a calendar invite somehow. Like make it real easy just to say add it to your calendar, and then just automatic alerts come through related to whatever you have set up in there.
Yeah, that's actually harder than it sounds. I was able to kind of kludge it up. I can take, and actually it's not easy to do this, but I can put a Google Calendar link on it. But and I have done that. But Mike also wants an Outlook link. I have not figured.
Can you do that?
Nah, not that I have figured. There's a couple tools out there. Neil Christensen pointed me to a couple tools, and they're all like $50 a month. And I only need this one little bitty piece of it in order to set that up. And he is unfamiliar, and he's an email expert. He's the Entreport guy.
Okay. Yeah.
And he is unfamiliar with another easy tool out there that I can do this. The way I do it with the Google link is I literally go into my Google Calendar, and there's a place where you can publish it as an event. Okay. I grab that link and I put that into the email, which is nice, but I don't know how to do the other. I dug into this. The iCalc one, I might be able to. I saw something. I don't know. I don't know. The other thing you asked about, did you want it to be personalized? It's supposed to be personalized. And actually, it's pretty clear that, Bruce, do you see that on the emails I send you? Does it say, hi, Bruce?
Let me look. I saw the reminder come in. Yeah, the reminder came in personalized, but the original one did not. It just said hi. And then, we were talking last week, and I apologize for the noise of my walking, but we talked about last week how you want to make it impactful. And if I get a thing that just says hi, then I know I'm deleting. They're not being serious. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to have your first name, and the copy that that the tool that I use, Active Campaign, says that it sent you the first name. So I sent a question to help desk, and I'm going, what's going on? Because it's clearly from the email you sent me, it's not working. So let me see what they say. Let me see what their thoughts are. Because I've done it appropriate. I've set it up properly.
Well, a couple of things I guess I would think is like if somebody registered for it, couldn't you just go into your calendar and add them as another member in your calendar? Then it would automatically appear on their calendar.
I got like 700 people on my list. I can't put them all on my calendar.
No, but only the people you send out the invitation.
I don't send
700.
Yep.
And then to register or whatever, how many people register, and then you add those to your calendar actually for that day.
I don't ask people to register. I don't want people to register because
I understand.
Because that may make them feel like, well, I didn't register, so I can't show up.
Oh, next problem.
Yep. Yeah, what you kind of want like the way Meetup works. Right? That's what you're kind of looking for.
Hey, Pat, I think you're cutting out there.
Yeah, so I think what you're looking for is something that's way similar to Meetup works, right?
I don't know about how, like, the events on there would be. There's a lot of different angles that go.
Yeah. It would be nice if I could somehow say, if you want to put this on your calendar, here it is. I have done it for the Google Calendar, but I don't know how to do it for the other two, and I've not found anything that. Yeah,
there's some different systems that have like click here for Outlook calendar, click here for Google Calendar. It's definitely two different files.
Yes.
That it ended up syncing with.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I've talked to my resident expert, Neil Christensen. He's familiar with a couple tools that'll do it, but they're like brutally expensive. He says it's like a package of 100 tools. I only need like a couple of them, Yeah. If I could pay maybe $1 or $2 a month, maybe I'd pull those out. But I'm not gonna pay $50. I'm not gonna.
Yep. Do you have anything that like you schedule the stuff with now, or is it just ad hoc here? And an Active Campaign's just sending out the invitations.
Yeah, they're just sending out emails. Yeah, I put them on my calendar. I grab the link off my calendar and I stick it in the emails. That's how that's how I'm doing that.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So, did somebody else hop on the call? I thought I heard somebody else hop on the call.
Yes, my name is Godwin.
Hey, welcome. How you doing?
Doing great, sir.
Welcome to the call. Today I want to talk about discovery calls. I want to talk about like what's the best way to get to know a prospect and to ask questions to distinguish, to tease out, to somehow kind of sort out whether or not they're a perfect prospect or not, if they're a good fit or not. Too often, people just kind of like have this, they have an assumption that everybody that they talk to is a good fit, but that isn't the case at all. Because even if they are a good fit, this may not be a good time, or they may have some other issues that are at a higher set of precedence. So that's what I was gonna chat about today.
Yeah, it could even be that as you're developing those bullet points, he might not even be the guy, so he doesn't have the checkbook. So he's the intermediate guy that's going to get it up to the boss that's actually going to approve it or disapprove it.
Yep. So That's exactly right. So I'm like have a ready set of questions already in my head that I want to like kind of plow through with these people and just to sort them out. And I call these questions the sort questions. I think I've talked about this a few times on the podcast. Do you guys remember any of this? Do you remember me ever talking about the sort questions? SORT. I'm gonna take that as a no. Who else? Before I keep going, who else jumped on the call? Say hello.
Mark Milstein.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Fine, Pat. How are you?
Great. Anybody else? All right. So 4 questions I like to ask are the story questions, the obstacle questions, the ramification questions, and the transformation questions. And the first question I often like to ask are the story questions. And the story questions are as simple as, where did you come from? Why are you here? What's your happily ever after? What's your past? What's your present? And what's your future? So if you're talking to the owner, you might be asking them about how'd you start the company? How's things going right now? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And if you're talking to an employee, it might be, when did you start with the company? You know, what are the challenges facing right now? Where do you see, where do you guys want to go in the next 6 months to a year? You know, why are you talking to me? And surprisingly, I've found that if you just kind of start asking these questions right off the bat about, and this makes an assumption you've already qualified them. I mean, that you've already had some kind of conversation with them a little bit, right? That people warm up to you pretty quick, and they like to tell you about their lives. So before I move on to the next question, anybody else do something similar like this to get started, to warm them up?
Yeah, not me. That's why I'm here to learn all the new tricks.
So these questions really make a big difference. So commonly when they start, so then I'll start saying, if you remember one of the last questions I asked is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's what in my mind is the happily ever after question. What is your happily ever after? So then the next question is the O question. It's the obstacle question. So then you ask, what are the barriers? What are the things that are stopping you from reaching your happily ever after? And then they might say, well, there's lots of things, Pat, that's stopping me. And commonly it's stuff like, can't afford to make a difference. The quality's too low. I don't have time. If I did, our revenue is not what it needs to be in order to get there. Our profit margins aren't as wide as I had hoped for us to get there. I got a lot of churn in my staff. I got a lot of frustration in my, those are the common kind of business issues that people are bumping into. And as they tell you these things, I'm all about being authentic and generally wanting to help people. So I'm going, really? That sounds terrible. That's horrible. Oh my goodness. Really? That sounds terrible. Oh my goodness. That's horrible. And just so that they get the fact that you're genuinely listening to them. As they tell you these things, you write them down. You don't start building yourself a list, because they're telling you exactly what you need to kind of repeat back to them in order to frame whatever that product or service that you got. So then you say, let's say you've kind of gone through and gotten all their questions. Then you move on to the next questions, the R questions of the sort thing, of this sort pattern. Because the whole idea of sort is to sort out, are they qualified or are they not qualified? So first we've asked them what their story questions. Then we've asked them what the obstacle questions are. And then we ask them the ramification questions. And these ones are a little mean because they ask you stuff like, you said that your revenues are not what you expected them to be. And they'll go, yeah. And then you'll go, well, how does that hurt the company? And then they go in there and they usually say something pretty painful like, well, because of that, I can't hire people, or I got to let people go, or we're not. There's usually some horrible thing with that. Or you said that the quality is really low of the product that you have. What's the ramifications of that? Oh, well, people call up and they complain. And we have high attrition rate of their clients and da 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 da. And then you're really going, oh, that sounds horrible. That sounds terrible. That sounds horrible. That sounds terrible. And they start opening up to you like you're a therapist, and they start telling you all this crap that's going on. The ramifications really kind of like dig in why it is what's going wrong with them is causing all the issues that they have, at least in that area, whatever the things that you sell. But then you ask the fourth set of questions that are actually kind and hopeful. And those are the transformation questions. That's the T of the sort. First we did stories. Then we did obstacles. Then we did the ramification questions, R, and then we do the T, the transformation questions. And those questions are, what would it mean to your company if you could turn around the revenue? What would it mean if we could grow your profit margins? What would it mean if all those issues that you had with the quality of your inventory was to raise 1,000%? What would it mean if all your people were happy? And they would say, oh, that would be awesome, Pat. That would be terrific. If that happened, if somehow magically that could happen, then that could really make a big difference. And you go, really? Oh, that's cool. They go, well, what if we did this and made that go away? And they would go, well, that would even be more awesome. And you go, really? That would be awesome. And because because now you've got this list that they actually gave you and you're speaking to it, they get the sense that you deeply understand what their issues are. And this is the foundation of trust. Trust is the biggest issue that goes on in sales. There's just so much competition out there. There's so many people to choose from on the internet that didn't used to exist. Now you got 1,000 choices and 1,000 different colors. And people don't know who to trust. So oftentimes the biggest person you're competing against is doing nothing, is the status quo. So when you come up to them and you start saying that you start proving and showing that you really understand what their issues are, they trust you. So now we've asked all these four questions, all these four sets of sort questions. And like I said, I like to have a good sense of what all these questions are long before I ever make the phone call. So I got them laying out there so I have a sense of to remind me what I want to ask. And then you can simply say something along the lines like, from what I see, from what's going on with you, I believe that I can help you when it comes to these issues that you have with quality or time or saving time or frustration or profits and stuff like that. I think I can help you. Would you be interested in hearing about it? And they're going to say, yeah. And when that happens, now you're really in control. And what you've proven to yourself is that they're the real deal, that they really would appreciate what you have. They are truly qualified. And if at that time they go, it's, and if the conversation never goes anywhere, if it doesn't really warm up, they don't really answer the questions or anything, the best thing for you to do right now is just cut that call off. It's just a waste of your time. They're not qualified. And trying to sell to people who aren't qualified is just a waste of time. So when it comes to discovery calls, these are the kinds of questions I like to ask. And once I can figure out whether they're qualified, then I can pitch something. Then I can start sharing with them, walking through the very list that they just gave me of the issues. You know, you said you had this problem. Let me show you what my thing can do that. You said you had this problem. Notice how my thing can also do that. And just walk through their list. Does that make sense?
Yep, that was good. Do you have like a flow chart of which ones you ask first? And which ones, you know, it should kind of just be like if they answer yes to this, then lead into this other thing or not?
Yeah, I do. I think I have some podcasts on this that I've done. So what I could do is I can dig in that. Let me see, what episode is that? Maybe I could look that up for you. I always ask them, usually kind of in the order that I just said. SORT. What's the story? And that's to kind of warm them up and to get a frame of what, and to frame what you think, what they think their happily ever after is. And then the next question is to work on, you know, what are the barriers, the obstacles that's stopping them from getting there? Those that's the right order. And then the next one is the ramification questions. Because you got this issue, how does that negatively affect you personally, or your company personally, or your staff personally? Episode 99. That was a while ago. 2016. Yeah, I just looked it up. It's episode 99. So if you go to salesbabble.com, go on the main page and scroll down, there's like a search field. You can like type in the search. You can find that. What kind of issues do you think you might have with this? What might make this hard in your mind?
Yeah, I guess remembering it would be the first for me. You need to make it like a business card size so you can pull it out of your wallet. Have the pen support.
Yeah, you could. So for each one of those, you know, if you could write 2 or 3 questions, 4 questions of each of those types, you could put it on probably 8 by 11 sheet of paper and just stick it right next to your computer when you're making phone calls. Eventually, you'll get them memorized.
Yeah, I know. I think it's just the lead-in of like, don't forget to ask them a question about the story, you know, and that could be a couple. You could say it a couple different ways for sure.
Right. But it's a very natural thing to do. It'd be like, hey, Bruce, I appreciate you hopping on the call with me. I really appreciate it. I know you guys are doing SEO. How'd you get in the SEO business?
I won the lottery.
That's awesome. That must have been very exciting when you won the lottery. Where do you see your business in 5 years? You know, what? But it's natural like that, right? It just, I think that's the, if you're genuinely curious, these questions, you know, by having them on the side there and looking at them, you you'll know when to say them. So I think that's the thing. I think what's wrong with a lot of sales books and everything is they don't very clearly. They have lots of process in place, but they don't. But you got to have that mindset of like genuinely caring about the person that you're listening to, genuinely treating them like they're a cousin, and that you want to help them out. If you really care and you want to help them out, you'll know what to ask. A little bit of preparation on these questions. All you got to do is quickly look at it. In 1 second, you'll go, "Oh yeah, I need that second one. Oh yeah, now's the right time to have." In fact, you'll go, "Oh, I know exactly the question I want to ask. Which one is it?" You'll have it in your head, and then you'll go, "Oh, that's the wording right there." Everybody's going to need to find their own way when it comes to selling. There is no one way to do it. Everybody's got to find their own way. What do other people do? How do other people do discovery?
Yeah, no, I don't do it very well. I had a recent thing where I had an hour-long conversation with somebody and talking all about the stuff, and then they came back a week later and said, "Why don't you give me a proposal?" And then I was like, "Well, shit, I didn't even ask them what their budget was or what, I didn't even know where to fit it in." I should have definitely asked those kind of questions.
Well, it would be totally okay to call them back.
Oh, I did, yeah.
And try to get a budget and try to figure that out. And oh, by the way, when you gave them that proposal, did you just email it to them? Or did you call them up and walk them through it before you emailed them?
Well, I solved this problem by saying, "Hey, can we meet again? I realize that I'm not such a great sales guy, not as good of an SEO guy, and I didn't ask you some of the right questions, so I could put these answers in the proposal." And then I kind of hashed it out and kind of figured out what was a good fit for them, and then I created a proposal.
So did you create it with them on the call?
Not live like that, but at least the dollar amount. So that was the, with SEO, it was like somebody could have a budget of $500 a month, but they were kind of a bigger company. So the way I saw it is like, man, you really need to be on the $3,000 a month plan if you really want to see the needle move. But how fast do you need to get there? How long do you look willing to wait? So that's what I ended up to be.
Actually, I like what you did. The fact that you said that I'm not that good a salesperson as I am an SEO person makes you seem real and authentic and honest. The second thing I like what you did was you walked through them and didn't give them one price. You said, "Well, it depends. You want it fast? This is what it might cost. You want it medium? This is what it might cost. You want it slow? This is what it might cost." You pick and choose.
Present a proposal that kind of like the number he agreed upon, and one lower and one higher.
The thing too is it's okay taking something lower because that leaves you room to upsell them someday. Yeah. Making the assumption that you're awesome and you're going to overly delight them with what they've gotten. Upselling people is always easier than earning new clients because by then they already trust you.
Yeah, I heard somebody say something like Bruce, you got to figure out what can you like almost give away for $50 so that you got a customer, and then you just work on selling them bigger things over time.
Yeah. They say the first dollar is the hardest to earn. You can just charge $1. Because once they spend $1, it's not hard to spend $100, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Once they spend $100, it's not hard for them to spend $10,000, right? Yeah. Yeah. So, what? Anybody else have any way that they approach this? You guys just
Kind of, but not really.
so what do you do? So what are you doing that you like?
Well, I mean, what I do is, anytime I get a inquiry or, a lead, I usually send them to book time, and there's a questionnaire in there. And, based on whatever answers they give me up front, it kind of prompts the phone call. So I know a little bit of where their head's at. And so I'm using the scheduling software to do that as opposed to, going in blind. Because, I just had a call with a guy today, and, it was super, super clear just from what he put in there that he was looking. He said to me he wanted a fractional CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. In other words, he's got a startup and he's looking for somebody to add in. And it's like, immediately I came in and said, dude, no offense, but I don't have time to do, to be a sounding board for free. And that's essentially what he was looking for, was somebody to give him ideas. And, I still took the call and, laid out what I do. And instead of it being an hour-long call, ended up being a 15-minute call. But, it just introduced, I knew what was going in there. So, that's the biggest thing. It's kind of, making sure if you're going to spend the time to do the call, know what to expect. And, also, is there really an opportunity there? Because there's so much tire kicking going on right now. That's the one thing I'm finding.
People have more time to shop.
Right. Well, they're bored and they're looking for ideas. I can tell you this much: all the webinars that I've done for myself and for clients are getting tons more attendees because people are bored. Like, oh, I can go on a webinar for a half hour, an hour, and learn something. Yeah, I'll do that.
Do you think the questions in the scheduling tool scare some people off, or stops you from fully understanding them because you're making assumptions before the call?
No, I think it scares some people off, and that's okay. Because I'm not asking like what's their budget or anything like that. I'm just asking, what's their problem, what's their strategy. Some things that can be answered in one sentence. And, the people that don't have can't define their problem in a question on a form are going to have just as hard of a time, if not worse of a time, trying to explain it over the phone.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is, it just, if they can't answer the question, in a simple form, chances are it's going to be a waste of their time and a waste of my time on the phone or in a Zoom, I had a client called me up last week who's been a long-term client. They're looking for a solution. I sent them to a webinar that I did on last Friday, and they went through that whole thing. And by the time we were done, what I expected to be, maybe $1,000, $1,500 worth of work turned into $200 worth of work. Basically going from putting together a system to showing them how to use PayPal Me to do the same thing. I still charge them for the call, but it just there's just a lot of people with a lot of time on their hands exploring things.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, if they get scared away, it doesn't bother me.
Yep. It's a filter.
Yep.
I remember once I had a guy, I can't remember his name, on the podcast, And his notion was, what I'm famous for is getting to no, I'm not interested as fast as possible.
Yeah. Well, and one of my biggest filters too is telling, I tell everybody, I can understand the SEO guys thing is I always tell people up front is like, hey, this is an investment. It's going to take 3 months. Do you have the budget and the stomach and the size of company that, you're willing to invest to get to that 3-month point? Because it's not an immediate overnight success where you turn on the faucet and money pours out.
Right.
So that becomes one of the, one of those questions or one of the things in the middle. If they seem like they have a budget, then I hit them with what the budget has to be. And it's fun. I've got this one lady who keeps calling me up. There's a story, and I know, Pat, you'll love this. Do you remember a guy named Wesley Willis from Chicago? Kind of a musician, dude.
No. What kind of music?
He had the rock and roll McDonald's. Rock and roll McDonald's. Rock and roll McDonald's.
No, Brian.
I
do not know this guy, Brian.
You don't know him? Oh, God. You have to look. He's online, man. Just go to YouTube and type in Wesley Willis and rock and roll McDonald's. He had a Casio, and he would just sit there and create these songs, just basically pressing keys. And it was just like bad rap stuff. And Wesley, he was mentally challenged. But when I owned my recording studio, he would constantly call me up and go, Brian, Wesley Willis, rock musician. How much for 10 CDs? Say, Wesley, they're $40 a piece. It'd be $400. How much for 3 CDs? Wesley, they're $40. $120 for 3 CDs. Okay, thank you, bye. And then 2 weeks later, you call back up again. Same question, same answer all the time. He just would constantly call up asking the same thing. And I've got clients now doing the same thing. They schedule Zooms and they keep asking the same questions. And it's like, nothing's changed. It's exactly what you want. It's like they can't figure out who they want to be or what they want or where their goals are. And it's annoying. But, but you got to stick with it because you don't know, when it's going to pop or if it's going to pop. I know they have the money. Money isn't an issue. They're building, a multi-million, $100 million facility. They've got the money. They just don't want to put it. They don't know what they want and how to do it yet. So, you got to kind of keep taking the phone call and going, okay, it's $300, dude. It's $400.
I wonder if they didn't realize that they talked to you the first time and contacted you again, like as if it was fresh. I've done that with some vendors.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, don't you remember we chatted about this last month? Like, oh no, I didn't. Mostly like SEO tools kind of things, and I researched it again, and I came to the same conclusion that I should do something with somebody.
Yeah, I gave a lead to a buddy of mine.
Go ahead.
I gave a lead to a buddy of mine, and as soon as he got the lead, he's like, "Oh yeah, I've talked to these people. I talked to these people last year." And they didn't remember. And I had mentioned to him, you know what? You should talk to my friend. He does exactly what you're looking for. And they were like, "Oh, sounds great." Didn't stick in there. Didn't remember. They did not remember it at all.
Yeah, it's crazy out there, but it's fun.
It is. It is fun. Yeah.
I'm working on something now. I normally have my LinkedIn boot camp, which I do every, it's talking about, the sales funnel. The LinkedIn boot camp brings in, on average 10 to 20 people. Out of those 10 to 20 people, there's probably 2 in the room that will want to do additional business, which takes 2 years, so sometimes they'll follow the podcast, sometimes they'll whatever. Sometimes they'll come in and drop $500, sometimes they'll come and drop $5,000, sometimes they'll come and drop $50,000. It takes time, but since I had it booked for May 1st, and of course you can't do it. And so what I'm doing this time, Pat, is I'm doing the pay
pay what you can version. And I'm calling it the shelter in place special.
I like it.
So if anybody wants to pay $10, they can pay $10. They want to pay the full boat of $500 for the course. I would take it, but I doubt anybody's going to do it. And then I'm offering 10 free scholarships. So if somebody can come to me and say, hey, I lost my job or my business is really faltering and I think I could use LinkedIn, I'm going to take 10 people in and give it to them for free. It's the same. And I start the story off in the webpage saying, you know the feeling when you pull up to Starbucks and somebody in front of you just paid for your coffee? That's this.
You have that on your LinkedIn?
Yeah, on the LinkedIn course.
On your LinkedIn, do you have that posted on your LinkedIn?
Oh, I haven't put it up there yet. I will.
Okay,
Yeah,
when you
I'm
do,
still-
tag.
I'm
If you
just doing all the forms and stuff.
yeah, tag me and I'll share that. I'll share that to everybody
Yeah,
here.
I will.
Yeah, tag me so I don't lose it.
I'm doing,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I will. I'll definitely tag you on it. I'll put you in the comments and tag you there.
Yeah. That'll work.
Yeah, but it's just, I do the course anyways, just because I need to update my slides and update the content and stuff like that. And one of the benefits too is one of my clients is dropping just pardon my French friends, a shit ton of money on LinkedIn ads that's being paid for by their vendors. So just like when you do Google ads, Google calls you up, LinkedIn calls you up too. And you can spend a ton of time, learning all the nooks and crannies of things that you can and should be doing. And, so they've taught me a whole bunch of stuff, and there's a whole bunch of cool things coming down the line because they realize they got to change their business model too. So, and this is, I keep talking to them. It's like, why do you guys keep changing everything all the time? At least let us know. Give us some ideas. So, but it's, I gotta stay current on it. So whether I have anybody show up, I still gotta update the slides because I gotta keep this thing, keep it churn and burn because it's my biggest lead magnet towards the big clients. Most people pay $97 for it, and most of that's eaten up by just making the damn workbook. It cost me like $27 to put together all the slides and the forms and everything, in there. Doing it virtually, obviously, I send everybody PDFs. And now it's their toner cartridge or color ink they have to worry about. But still, it's a lot of work to put it together and get those books done. And but again, it's a lost leader. I don't really make any money on them. It's just to get people in and educated and start to point in my direction as opposed to somebody else. Because there's no other LinkedIn experts in the world, right, Pat?
I tell you what, I get asked every 2 days. Someone hits me up trying to connect with me on LinkedIn. That they're going to teach me how to do LinkedIn right.
Right, yeah. I get 2 a day. Yeah,
I get 2 a day. I get 2 a day. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't even connect with them anymore. I used to play that game until the one guy went off on me. I think you might have saw that one. He was a LinkedIn, he basically was going to teach me how to do it. And I said, dude, I think I'm okay. My clients are doing well. I'm doing well. I'm the best year ever. I really don't need it. I'm kind of an expert. I've been doing it since 2004. And he went completely off on me. You call yourself an expert? I'd never post that out there. That's bullshit. Matter of fact, you couldn't handle my 40,000 leads. And I'm just saying to myself, yeah, I did handle 40,000 leads because you only have 30,000, so you can't be that much of a guru. Oh, man, he went off, and then he immediately, unfriended me or, connected with me to the point where I couldn't respond back to it. It was funny. Oh, my God. I've never had anybody go off that bad. But luckily, I was able to capture it and use it, on Facebook as the LinkedIn connected pitch of the day. Yeah, I feel your pain, man. I totally feel your pain.
I had an interesting experience today. I went out for tacos. I actually left the house. I don't do that much anymore. I don't know about you guys.
What's that like?
You know, it's familiar, but not the same. It's familiar, but not the same. And there's a little taco hut place in town where you walk up to the window and they take your order, right? And so you're a perfect like 6 feet away from it and everything. And while I was standing there, the property adjacent to that, the guy is opening up a restaurant. And I said to him, 6 feet away, mind you, well, you picked a good time to open up a restaurant. And we started laughing, and we ended up talking for like 20 minutes, and we actually exchanged cards. I didn't Listerine his card, but I did take it. But I never shook hands with him or anything like that. And I got back in a car, and I was thinking, I miss talking to people live for real, in person. I really miss it. And it's not like I'm not on the phone like all day long, and I am, or on a Zoom call or something like this. But it is really. I thought that was really. I'd forgot. You kind of forget what you already know.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I mean, it's missed. There's no question about it. I mean, I kind of envy my wife. She works at a bank, even though she's in a fish tank, because they only allow you to go through the drive-through. At least you get to talk to the customers through the telecom,
Yeah.
And get to see them face to face.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just not the same.
It's not the same. It's not the same. Yeah, and the online class you teach won't be the same as if when you have them when you got butts and seats. That's not going to be the same.
Yeah. No, it's not. Well, there's a big difference because, when you're teaching, you're PowerPointing the whole thing and you can't see anybody's faces. You can't, I could see people squirm in their chairs, and I can, okay, you've got a question, I need to pause. You can't do that on online.
Oh, they're getting bored. It's time for me to bump up my energy or time to move on.
Oh, dude, the last time, but I've never had that problem. The last time I taught it was like, I think a week and a half after I got out of the hospital from the sepsis thing. And I had to sit the whole time. That was tough. That was tough for me, man, to sit for 4 hours and not walk around. That was brutal. But it still worked. Everybody loved it. But yeah, it's way different even teaching online. I mean, I'd much rather. You know the gig. I mean, when you're standing in front of a crowd, there's energy. I mean, think about that. Musicians, sports athletes, and everybody else who basically, gets their energy from a crowd. They can't do that anymore. Yeah, it's hard without the feedback. I know that's the challenge sometimes on the webinars as opposed to the seminars.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm about done here. You guys are not as chatty as last week's group. They were a chatty group.
Well, good. Well,
they had a million.
At this point,
they had a million questions.
Yeah, you've insulted us.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, see that recurring thing on my calendar? That's gone.
Well, I don't know how to put a calendar link on an email, so I guess that's.
Yeah, I just sent you email with a link that integrates Active Campaign and Google Calendar.
Well, I got that part figured out. It's the Outlook in the. What's the other one you want, Mike? The iCalc.
iCal. You gotta have iCal. Yeah. So let's say I put an event in my Google Calendar and send you an invitation and you use Outlook. Doesn't it still flow into your calendar? Only if you click it. No. But you have to click. Doesn't that mean that it already has the right pieces? You just have to accept it? For the most part, yeah, I think. At least on a Mac.
So
yeah, you should try that.
See
what happens.
I don't have Outlook.
I know. I have a lot of problems with trying to put things in Mac calendars and send them out to as meeting invites to people who are on Office 365 for some reason. They just don't seem to gel.
That's the problem. And that's why this is a real problem that should be solved. So if you clicked on my Google Calendar link and you have Outlook, it doesn't go into an Outlook calendar.
I don't know either. Yeah. I know that there are some systems, like, you register for, let's say, for example, Eventbrite, just as an example. I don't know if it works like that or not. But then there's two links on the bottom, one for Outlook, one for Google
Yes.
Calendar.
Yes.
Maybe just
and a lot of them have the IC. Yeah, the ICS too. So the ICS is the Apple one. You'll see usually all three.
Yeah, like I said, Neil's got it. He's pointing me to a couple of tools that can do all of this.
Mm-hmm. As far as scheduling and stuff.
As far as it'll create those little calendar links so you can put them in your email.
Oh, gotcha.
But I don't want to pay $50 a month to like do that. Those tools are ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, I pay $10 a month for Acuity. It's not bad, and it does all that stuff. It does the scheduling and the whole 9 yards. And it does PayPal.
Second time this week I heard that word.
Yeah, Acuity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does PayPal and Zoom integration and Zapier integration and all that kind of stuff.
For events, use that for events.
No, I use it that's my calendar booking program. Schedule half-hour phone call with me.
But that's not what I want to do. That's not the problem I solve. The problem is
Acuity could do a lot of things, though. It could take your money and all kinds of things.
That's not the right tool. The tool I want is something where in my active campaign emails that it says there is a calendar event that you can place on your calendar. That's the problem I'm trying to solve.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm surprised Active Campaign doesn't have something built in to do that.
Nope.
That's surprising.
Yep. I got a help call out there right now for the first names are not automatically going out. Yeah.
So why don't you create a web page specifically for it and then link in Active Campaign to the web page, and then the web page, I'm sure there's a calendar tool that you can plug in there easily.
Yeah.
It's an extra step for the people that want to click here.
Yeah, the whole point is no extra steps. I mean, I've gotten pretty clear feedback on, how to make it so you just click on the number and it automatically dials into the conference circuit. Because it's just less steps.
I got that. That worked great.
Yeah, you can thank Mike.
I actually dialed on my cell phone.
Yeah, Mike Slowick taught me that trick. Tip of the hat.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I see one, add to calendar.com, but it's $20 a month on the low end. But then it says, it gives you a little button to be able to add your event to it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to keep looking into it. I won't.
You do that.
I'll keep looking into it. It's a puzzle.
If I hear of anything, Pat, or find something simple, I'll let you know. But
it's a puzzle.
Active Campaign and emails, right?
Yep.
Yeah, if I hear of anything, I'll let you know. But because I get pitched, not only do I get that, but I get people pitching stuff all the time online. So try my new tool, make you millions.
Try my tool too. Would you like to sponsor a podcast? That's how I turn those around a lot. Have you ever thought about sponsoring a podcast?
Oh, don't go down the podcast
podcast guest route, please.
Mm.
I had an interesting one this week. The guy left the company, and in order for me to even publish it, he had to listen to it first to make sure he didn't say anything negative against his past company, so he wouldn't, beat up his non-disclosure agreement or whatever it was. It's like, dude, you really? And then he came back, yeah, you need to edit this, you need to edit this. It's like, dude, it's not your audio editing department. But because I was short on content, I did it. Normally I tell them to take a hike.
No.
Oh well, have you ever had that, Pat, where somebody asked you to edit the podcast for them after they?
Maybe twice in 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the mistake? Is it just a typo in what they said, or did they say something they really shouldn't have said?
They said something that if you were to listen and you could figure out who they were talking about, you didn't want that person to be called out or that company called out. It was a
that's exactly what happened.
It was a client. But I never have an issue with content. In fact, I have more content than I can ever publish. I got more people. I have such a huge backlog.
Well, if you have any really good guests that you think they'd be good in the marketing space or what to do or working from home or anything like that, if you got any good suggestions, send them my way.
That's what you're looking for? Marketing people?
Yeah, it's marketing and, it's marketing and primarily right now I'm kind of in the COVID lockdown. What can you do? Work from home, ideas, time management, those kind of things.
Let me noodle on that.
That's kind of been the niche.
Yeah. Let me noodle on that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I know you do.
Yeah.
If you think of anybody, make the connection.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I'll let you go. Yeah,
We'll see you guys.
Good talking with you again.
Later, Gator.
Thanks.
Next week. Bye.
Bye.